Hi there, Happy New Year. It's Tom here from Foam Data Services, and today we're going to be looking at the Nerf Mega Magnus. This is the latest blaster in the Mega line, and we had an awful run with the Nerf Centurion, and particularly we had the grey trigger Centurion. Now here we have the Australia and EU version of the Mega Magnus with its grey trigger, and it also has a grey breech inside, you can see. But thanks to UK Nerf War, we have the orange trigger version as well. So today it is the Mega Magnus Mega Shootout, and we're going to see quite how much difference the grey trigger and the orange trigger makes to the overall dart velocity. Now, the grey trigger version is 25% lower on the spring rate than the American orange trigger version. Now, we don't know how that's going to affect the dart. Obviously a Mega ammunition, it's a big light dart, so it'll be interesting to see whether the orange US version is worth the extra money. You can get these from Amazon.com, and they do ship to the UK. If you really must have the slightly more high-powered spring rate on these, they're more expensive to buy that way, but you can get them. And then for the grey trigger version, we're investigating the possibility of a UK spring for this. That's something that I'm trying to put together over the next couple of weeks, and I'm looking to do a spring that's about 50% more powerful than the standard spring, so it'll be slightly higher spring rate than the orange trigger American version, so it'll be a small power increase. Straight down to business. Test protocol: 30 rounds per blaster, brand new 10 box of Mega darts. There's no way I'm going out and buying 30 of these, they're expensive enough already. So each of these darts will be fired 6 times. I'm going to split them into 2 5s, so there'll be approximately the same wear rate for each blaster, because we know that these deteriorate a little bit with shooting. So I shall start with this, the grey trigger version, and I'm going to have to wear my awful bag again to store the darts in. I'm just going to quickly open the Mega darts so that you can see I'm not cheating, and then I'll start loading them again through the top slide into the internal magazine. Okay, here we go, testing grey trigger version. Okay, we're on to the orange version now, and again I've got 5 fresh darts in the pouch that came out of that 10 pack. You notice I might muzzle load the odd few because it's almost quicker just to put the dart down the barrel and then shoot. So you'll have to bear with me as we go through. On the spring on this, you can instantly feel the difference with the blaster in hand on this prime. It's a much tougher prime with this, and it makes a much more manly noise. So far, ergonomically, orange trigger feels better already. And that's definitely shooting harder. Feels like it's definitely shooting harder. And the chrono seems to be giving a couple of better readings. Okay, let's review the figures for the Nerf Mega Magnus, and this is the orange trigger US and rest of the world version. So we have a high of 75, a low of 56, an average of 71, extreme spread 19, standard deviation of 3. Right, here are the figures for the Magnus, and this is the grey trigger version. So we have a high of 63, low of 57, average of 60, extreme spread of 6, standard deviation of 1. Now I should add that there were 2, I always shoot some extra shots to take out the lowest and highest in each group, and there was some very lows on there. I did get a 38 out of the grey, which I think was where I had a misload because I shot that first, so I deleted that 38. Okay, so there we have it. That's the test for the Mega Magnus, and we have a clear winner in the orange trigger version over the grey trigger version. The orange trigger is shooting on average 10 feet per second faster than the grey trigger. So from a 30% spring rate difference, the orange blaster is giving you that 10 extra feet per second, which is a quite good gain. In percentage terms, given that this one was shooting around a 60 average and around a 70 average, 10 feet per second is around 14-15%, so it's actually a pretty good gain for a spring rate increase. So if you have a UK version, then you are going to have to get an uprated spring, otherwise you're going nowhere. If you have a US version, then you can be smug and you can enjoy the increased performance of your orange trigger blaster. So if you're in Australia or the EU and you want an out-the-box Mega Magnus, my advice is to buy the orange trigger version if you can get hold of it, and spend the extra money, because 10 feet per second will give you better ranges no matter how you use it. So we're going to have to get a new spring for these. I can clearly see that the nerfed grey trigger version does suck compared to the unnerfed orange trigger version. So there you have it, confirmation. Orange trigger version, 10 feet per second better, clearly a more powerful and better, more usable Nerf blaster. So once again, Hasbro Europe, thank you very much for selling us an inferior blaster to the rest of the world. Now you can whine on about EU regulations and about noise and about all the other things, but flat out this is a better blaster, and anybody with half a brain will be buying the orange trigger version. And I know you're still getting our money, but if you want to sell us Mega Blasters, then can we please have ones that are as good as the rest of the world? Thank you. End of rant.